This is my favourite. I love this photo. Literally, as we did that, there was this chorus of, don't move, hold that, and lots of cameras flashing. And I love it. But actually a wedding is just one day, and the reality of marriage is all the days after that. He used to hold me over the banisters, over the stairs, and tell me he would drop me, and if I was lucky, it would kill me. And if he was lucky, it would break my back and he could come down and finish the job off and see me die. It didn't start out the way it ended up. So initially it was very little kind of controlling things. Don't wear that dress, you know, don't say that, or don't go out tonight.
The incidences can start really in a very minor way. So it can start with something as simple or as basic as one partner saying to another, "You're not going out dressed like that." And they brush that off. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, perhaps I shouldn't go out dressed like this. And then it becomes more. And so those little incidents then gradually mount up.
It probably actually was in the first year. He, I don't know what I'd done, but I'd said something that he didn't like. He slapped me across the face, knocked me sideways. I hit my head on the skirting board. So he thought he'd knocked me out. So in actual fact, he sort of was very well behaved for quite a while, because I think that frightened him. And it should have frightened me more.
We know that the stats show that on average 2 women a week are killed by their partners or ex-partners, and it must be very terrifying to live with that and know that. And that's often what the perpetrator will say, you know, "I'll get you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you, you don't do what I say, I'll kill you." And they know it's not an idle threat.
I had to accept that he would kill me one day and come to terms with it. And I did, and I made my peace with it. So when he would strangle me, I would think, oh, okay, maybe this time. That enabled me to carry on living a normal life. I stopped ironing during the day because he'd taken the iron one day and had me backed into a corner in the kitchen and threatened to burn my face off with the iron, and I could feel the heat. So after that, I used to iron at 4 or 5 in the morning when he'd be in bed. So that, you know, it was always about lessening what could happen.
Once you've built a life together and you've got a family together and people know you as a couple, and it becomes almost normal in many ways in a household, and it can be very, very different to break that.
On the Sunday, we were sat and he was being horrible, and I just said to him, "What would you think if you came home one day and I wasn't here?" And he said he would be delighted, but there were various swear words in there. He hated me, hated life, hated the house, but really hated me, wish I was dead. He'd rather I'd died than left. I knew where the door was. And I sat there and I thought, why am I sat in a room with a man who's just told me that he hates me? Why am I here? The following Wednesday, I just thought, I'm going to write the statement. I've got an hour, I'm going to write it, see how it feels, you know, see. And I wrote it, and then I'm going to phone the police before I can change my mind. Once I phone them, it's too late. And so I did it. And I apologised to them for wasting their time, but I'd had enough. And the policewoman said, "How long have you been with him?" I said, 30 years. And she said, "Well, it's 30 years enough, isn't it?" Eventually he was sentenced for 5 counts of threats to kill. I think it was 4 counts of actual bodily harm, and I think 1 of aggravated assault or something like that. And he got 6 years. But he'll only do 3 in prison. So he's actually only going to spend 1 year in prison for every 10 years of our life together. I don't know if that's fair or not. Doesn't feel quite right.
Worryingly, the abuse doesn't stop generally when people leave an abusive relationship, and in fact it can be the most dangerous time physically and emotionally.
The hardest thing is the mental and the emotional abuse, because you get over bruises. You don't get over the emotional stuff.
One thing that is common that happens is that people's self-esteem hits rock bottom. Their self-worth, their self-identity, they don't know who they are anymore. And that's, we work a lot with that, building that back up for the person, so they find out, you know, who they are and what they want to do. And it's a slow process because it's been knocked out of people.
I look in the mirror and I hear you're repulsive. I say something and I hear, nobody's interested in your opinion. You're thick, you're stupid, you know nothing. Just everything, every day of my life, he is still in my head, and I hate it. I've been very lucky in that I have had some really good friends who have come forward and been around for me. Rachel was incredible. Just one person who supports you at the points where you are at such a low ebb that you do not see a way forward makes such a huge difference.
I really think from the moment that Jeanette reported to the police, there should have been ongoing support, that there was support from IDFA and various other agencies, but there wasn't really the counselling that she needed.
When I finally got counselling, I'm sure the lady is very, very nice, but to call her a nut job, she actually told me that she felt sorry for him, that I had given him permission to treat me the way he did for 30 years by not leaving. That really ticked me off. And she, you know, I basically said to her, so how, if you say I could have left, how do you leave? Because how do you leave when you have a 3-year-old? You don't have a job. You have no access to any money. Your name is not on a bank account anywhere. Your family are all hundreds of miles away from you. And your partner tells you that if you go to them or you go into hiding, he will go to them and hurt them, maybe kill them, to find out where you are. And he told me that. And he told me that enough times that I believed him. So I asked her how she would leave in those circumstances. And she didn't answer, because there is no answer.
Counselling should be non-judgmental, absolutely, but an understanding of the background, I think, is very, very helpful for whatever area that you're going into. So I think specialist domestic violence counsellors are very, very helpful.
Ultimately, I would like to become a counsellor, because I think that there's a lack of, in this area, of good counsellors with an understanding of domestic violence and what domestic violence actually means. I have struggled so much over the last 17 months to deal with everything. I didn't know where to start. just with basic things, just paying the bills, all of those things, everything was so overwhelming because I'd never dealt with it. I don't want anyone ever to have a 17 months like I've had. I would never, ever go back. Best thing I ever did was finally telling somebody, I'm free. And you don't know what it means to be free until you haven't been.